There's simply no two ways about it with the coronation on everybody's mind, both recently and of course for months on end now. Every sort of recollection goes back to our wonderful late monarch, Her Majesty the Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. It's funny meeting lots of people who were lucky enough to be there for the coronation 70 years ago. They just remember a very wet, windy day. And it must have been awful really when you think, because they picked June, didn't they, thinking it would be a nice blistering summer's day. And apparently it was weather like November. Even Her Majesty the Queen said she felt so sorry for all the people lining the Mall on that particular day, but there were literally thousands of them and they simply didn't care. It's fascinating also, isn't it, to know in this sort of time that, when you look around, you kind of think, well, what happens to all of that history from our late and wonderful monarch? And there's so much of history. Every dress that she wore to meet, a certain dignitary in or anything like that is all detailed and saved and everything. Or is it? Now, according to a very good source, they've just started to put together a curation of Her Majesty's late things. And it's difficult, isn't it? As I say, because you look at situations like that and you say, well, everybody knows a certain dress that she wore, particularly on big events, say like meeting President Kennedy or going to a film premiere, things like that. But there are also other dresses, aren't there, that just literally prick the mind. You think, I remember seeing that. But what about the everyday clothes? As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you. I hope you're well today. And thank you so much for joining me. I love to share these little sound bites with you because I get to be told them. And, I like to pass them on because they're inoffensive, but they're nice to know, aren't they? I don't know about you, but I look at things like with Her Majesty the Queen. And when you see her casually dressed, you think, oh, wow, she looked great in anything, really. And I think for me, one of the most sort of poignant images was the green dress that she wore as she addressed the nation, the world during the pandemic. Remember that picture where she said, "We will meet again"? And it was such a moving speech. I think it really united everybody. Of course, the image played a great part in that as well. And I am told that that's one of the, major sort of looks that will be saved and at some point in the future put on a royal collection display. But what about the casual clothes? Well, this little bon mot I wanted to share with you because according to a very good source, as I say, they've suddenly started going through all of the things regarding the late monarch. And what's interesting here is the more reasonable, undefinable clothes, maybe like a headscarf or a jumper or a skirt, will find their way into various charity shops in and around certain areas, particularly say in Balmoral or indeed in Windsor. So when you think about it, you too could literally be wearing something that the monarch has worn. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an incredibly expensive item because obviously, like everybody else, she bought things off the peg and wore them. It was casual wear, wasn't it? But honestly, when you think about it, can you imagine finding yourself buying, say, I don't know, a cardigan or a jumper, and then realizing at some point whether you stumble across it on a picture or something like that and think, wow, I picked this up in a charity shop, and now I found out that they did take quite a few things down there, all for the good of other people. Say in this climate, I just wanted to share that with you because a lot of people wonder what does happen to certain things. We've told you before that gifts and toys and things like that are often distributed to children's hospitals, given to those that don't have as much. But isn't it nice and reassuring to realise that even really sadly in death, our late and wonderful monarch is definitely still doing her bit for many of her favourite charities. And really, for a few pennies, you too could possibly be dressing like a queen. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.